Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for the one show we say is our most interesting. It's the real world of sales and the real world that our sales consultant runs into each and every day. She meets the most amazing people doing the most incredible thing, and today is certainly one of them. I'm told we have royalty in the house. Is that true, Ashley?
Yep, that's true, everybody. We have royalty here, our guest, Bryn. And Bryn, how do you say your Hawaiian name?
It's Leialoha.
All right, that is so pretty. Hey, everybody, we have a Hawaiian princess here. Welcome to the show, Bryn.
Thank you.
Descended from the last of the monarchs in Hawaii, right?
Yes, my grandparents actually owned one of the churches that took care of all of the birth records.
Ah,
So we knew exactly for generations of all the births.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think it's so cool. And like what I just want to mention, everybody, is like when I first met Bryn, it was a few years ago, and she was working at her restaurant, her old restaurant. And I didn't even know that Bryn was a royalty. She is so down to earth and compassionate. And then she told me about all her family history and how, the whole royal family and their story. And I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it's really nice. I really like that. How, you're so caring and always helping people, really humble, Bryn. So I think that's really
isn't there like
amazing.
a movement in Hawaii? I don't know if it's a big one or a little one, but they still want to bring back the royal family and maybe make Hawaii an independent nation again here.
Yeah, that's what I heard. My family has been waiting for the homestead to move. Homestead has been going on for generations, but the problem is that nobody's marrying back into the Hawaiian line because it's been so liquid
Hmm.
because of the new marriages that come in that are not Hawaiian.
Right.
So the homestead requires a certain percentage in order for you to stay in a homestead. I passed my homestead to a cousin that had more Hawaiian in it because I wouldn't be able to keep it because I didn't marry into Hawaiian.
Mm.
Got
So
it.
yeah, it's interesting.
So the homestead is
Yeah.
sort of like a tribal land or something?
Yes, you're allowed property of agriculture or regular living home. So yeah, and the nice thing is that um, the community helps you build your home. You don't always
Ah,
have to have it as contract out. A lot of the homesteaders in the community help each other rebuild
didn't
their
know there
homes.
is such a thing, but it makes sense. And
Mm.
we'll explain to everybody who's listening. You had a brain injury, so your speech is a little bit impaired here. We
Yes,
appreciate you coming and
yeah,
sharing all this with us here.
yes,
Yeah, you're so inspiring. You're amazing, Bryn, because you've been through so much. You've had a lot of different businesses. You've done construction, you've done restaurant, you're going to start a health business, a new podcast about health to help people. So I think that's really just so enlightening for everybody, and I think you have great business skills. And that's what I was saying. You really want to help people. So you're going to do a new health podcast.
yes.
So
I was trying to let people know that today you need to advocate for your health. Doctors will tell you everything. You have tests that will tell you everything. But bottom line in, when you know you're not feeling as well as you could be, you have to advocate for your own health. Research.
And is that what you've had to do? I don't know if you want to go into any detail about how you got injured or
Yeah.
what happened to you or.
I got lupus in
Mm.
2002 and got it into remission in 2017. I was wheelchair bound for about 6 to 7 years.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So I advocated for my own health when I was told that I had to prepare myself to make arrangements because my heart wasn't going to make it in the
wow.
next 5 years.
They told you that make arrangements because you might not survive here.
Yeah, that's generally what they need to do, I guess, when you're given a terminal illness, whether it's cancer, lupus, where there's no way of recovery in the long run for some people. Uh, I chose to go to the library. I chose to advocate. Went homeopathic. It was a long, long journey. But in 2017, there was barely little markers. So they said it looked like it was in remission. And then they tested me in 2019 and said there's no markers. So
Wow.
yeah, but I still have all the ramifications from being on all the drugs, though.
Yeah, that's what I think is crazy. The pharmaceutical industry, it makes so much money off of all. The doctors, they want you to take all these pills, and they get like money for it and stuff. All these kickbacks. It's crazy because a lot of times it's like something so simple that can be solved for your health, and they don't help you. And it's just you got to go to all these different doctors, do your own research online, and all that stuff. And it's sad. That's what it is nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's amazing you're here. You're here.
Yeah.
You're looking great. You're doing better. You've had some other additional struggles, the fall and things.
Yeah.
But you still look great, Brittany. You're still doing well. You're still inspiring people.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing. You're helping people all the time. That's what I mean. You're a Hawaiian princess, and you're helping so many people. That's like how you're supposed to run your country and stuff. That's
I-
really good.
I'm blessed. That's all. I mean, every day I wake up is a blessing. Don't take it for granted, because
That's true.
Yeah.
So you had a restaurant for a while here?
We've been in restaurant business ever since I was little. My parents actually had a restaurant in Fountain Valley, right off of Brookhurst and Magnolia.
What kind of restaurant was it?
It
Was it Hawaiian?
No, it was Cantonese smorgasbord. It was the first smorgasbord. My parents
Wow.
got inspired by Sir George's.
There you go.
So we opened it up in the 70s, and I was cooking and washing in the kitchen, 7, 8 years old. And yeah, we've been in the restaurant business since I was little.
That's it. Did your parents so they did they ever talk about your family history, your royalty and your family, and they wanted you to be like humble, or they didn't want you to be like stuck up and stuff?
I think I'm one out of 7 children, so I believe that watching the world go around from my perspective. I mean, I was responsible. I was little. I grew up where by the time I was 8, I had my own checking account, my own savings.
Wow.
I had to buy my own clothes for school, so it was a different upbringing for me. So I always kind of knew that I wanted to be humble. I've been around a lot of money all my life, so yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you you go to Hawaii and it's like everybody knows you guys and you're just kind of like,
No.
just do what I want. You're like, carry my luggage.
No, what is that? When I go home back to Hawaii, it's basically just to see any aunts or uncles that are still alive. Because, the sad part is when we lose older family members and stuff, it's like losing a library. It's like having it burned down.
Wow.
Because they have so much knowledge that you just don't know about. And when they're gone, they're gone. It's history,
Yeah, that's true.
Is there a lot of royal descendants of the royal line left, or has it all been sort of muddied and spread out?
Yeah, it's muddy and spread out. I mean, my dad's family is pretty big. There's 22 of my
Oh, my goodness.
my dad's side of the family. So yeah, it is. But we knew about it when we were little, but it really didn't define me. And I don't think it defined my siblings, but there's too many of us. I mean, when we go to family reunions, it's not just hundreds of people, it's thousands of people. So
Wow. Oh my gosh.
so that's basically what it is, but it is what
Are
it
there
is.
any privileges or anything that came with it? Any land or property, or is it just
Just a homestead.
Just
Just
a
a homestead. Yeah. Grandma and Grandpa had land where the church was on, but the church got burnt down. So
Wow.
relatives built, I guess, some of it back up. So that property has been passed down to one of my cousins or my aunts. So That's all I know. And we all keep together when we go to the family reunions and stuff, just to see everybody and stuff like that. So that's basically what we're doing. But, it is what it is. I mean, life goes on.
What island is it on?
Um, Honolulu.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, Oahu is a nice island.
Yeah.
A lot of action there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. So when you go there, did you ever grow up like surfing and scuba diving, snorkeling and stuff?
Worker. That's all I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was the only one that took to working. I was the youngest one, so the oldest is older, so they all went to school and stuff. So I was the youngest
Does
one.
anybody still speak the native tongue? Does anybody?
All my cousins do that live there, and the ones that still live out here that do hula, and they still pass their tradition down. Me, not so much. I guess I've always just raised that it's better to work because then you're not spending money. so, so I just know that that's how I was raised. So most of my time I would be working.
So what do you do with most of your time now?
Now it's very difficult. I can't drive, can't do a lot, so my independency is a little bit hard. It's hard to swallow, but every day I'm just grateful I wake up at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have someone help you then to do all that?
Yeah, my husband's been really sweet, and my children and everybody's been helping, and I've got a lot of friends that reach out and check up on me. So,
Yeah. That's why you help so many people all the time, it's like that's why everybody just loves you, Bryn. You're so caring and, helpful and just like really try your best to help people with their health issues because you've been through a lot and you use like what you've been through, your experiences to help others, which I think is really encouraging, and that's what I think it's like, you were talking about like the church and burned down and stuff in your town, but it's like, you have like a lot of family and a lot of like history, spiritual history, I think is like using, God's like using you to help people and stuff. Even with your experiences and the new podcast you want to start soon, that when you're talking about health issues, everybody, make sure you tune into that. And then there'll be more details later. But that's what I think that you have so many, like so much amazing history and stuff, and just, being a princess royalty and helping people is pretty cool.
I think somebody should chronicle, because what you said is true. When somebody dies, I never thought of it.
yeah.
It's like losing a library.
Yeah, it is.
All that information that
Yeah.
came with them, the stories, the history. We had somebody in here, just as this is a strange analogy, but we had somebody in here a couple times, Jared Mathis, who's a descendant of the Moulton family. And the Moulton family had a huge ranch for generations here that made up most of South Orange County. People would know Laguna Woods, Laguna Niguel, Aliso Viejo, all the way down to San Clemente. All that was a giant ranch on that side of the where the Laguna Hills Mall was. That's where their home was. And starting in the 70s, they started selling it off and started turning into developments. And there's still Moulton Parkway and some other things. Nellie Gale Ranch was named after their grandmother. So there's remnants, but nobody knows the story.
Yeah.
Nobody knows any of this. I imagine it's the same way in Hawaii. There's all these place names and all these things that are being forgotten. Why is it called that? Where did that come from? What did that mean? And special sacred places, I'm sure, in Hawaii that now to just people who've moved there, they don't know any of the history there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a shame. I tell all the young people, talk to your grandparents, talk to aunts, uncles, because you're missing so much. I mean, sometimes it's not easy to swallow what your family history is about, but that's who you are. That's who
where you come
makes
from.
you. Yes, I totally believe
And
that.
we forget so quickly in this country. History is anything that's, from 50 years ago. I go down to San Juan Capistrano and you look at the mission from the 1700s or something. How many people in California, there's so little of that history preserved.
Yeah.
We forget so quickly here. And I'll bet Hawaii is the same thing, as it's been modernized and developed and people have moved in from all over the world there. Now it's an international resort. So the original Hawaiian culture and language still exists in places, but I don't think anybody knows anything about it.
Yeah, you hear people doing the tours where they're doing the luau's and stuff like that.
Right.
But there is so much that has been missed, knowing that your ancestors were digging, pits to go ahead and cook, Kahlua pig, and it would take days to do it. So,
Wow.
it just, once they get the pet harvest, they cook it, and then the girls and the children would go out and do lays and
So
do
did you get a
hats.
chance to talk to your grandparents and hear any of these stories? Because Hawaii became a state, what, in the 1950s?
Yeah, it's the family got like really changed, like the whole like culture there, the people, like the Polynesians and stuff. It's like when the Americans made it a state, it became like a
Which basically
tourism
meant they
place.
overthrew the royal family and
Right.
businesses
Yeah.
and then took it over and
Mm-hmm.
then applied to become a state.
It's been,
Yeah.
It was
It-
a sad
yeah.
story for the native Hawaiians who ended up losing their own. I don't know the whole story, but I know there was some kind of uprising and the royal family was overthrown. And then the business people applied to the United States and were quickly accepted as a part of the U.S. here.
It's just, unfortunately, it's part of history. I just, we have books and everything that reminds me of our grandparents and stuff, but things that they went through, great grandparents, but, it's history. And we have, books, our family tree and stuff like that, and it gets harder and harder every year, I think, when you have generations that don't want to be involved anymore or don't want to really know, and then by the time they want to know, they're all gone.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering
Wow.
if the modern generation, there are descendants of the Russian royal family or the French royal family or whatever
Yeah, probably
that have
like
that's-
England, the family there.
well, but royal lines that lost their position. So along the way, nobody remembered, but there's still remnants of those families around and still trying to hold the tradition alive and the memories alive. Once they ruled Russia, now they're just regular people.
Yeah, and
It's interesting.
yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, I think it's happening all over though, for every single.
Not much royalty left in the world.
No, but there's still people that hold on to their faith and hold on to their actual heritage. They still do that. They don't have to be royalty, but it's still there. People can actually see where they come from. Um, I found out my sister-in-law family ran with who is that? El Chapo, I think they said. Yeah,
The gang,
yeah.
the Mexican drug lord here.
I don't know. I just know that they actually have pictures in their home where the grandparents were writing.
Yikes!
Yeah, so there's
Different kind of royalty.
yeah, that's what I mean. So
Drug royalty.
everybody, and regardless what it is, I mean, I think everybody has something,
It's
and
interesting when you look at like your past history. If you do like that research stuff, there's like all these like secrets and things. You're like, wow, really? My grandparents did this.
I
with
thought
me?"
Ashley comes from Persian royalty here. She said.
oh yeah,
A little bit similar.
See?
Yes.
I've had some interesting family over there.
yeah.
Yeah, they I've had one of my cousins, she had some like I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say it, but she had a high level uncle
Mm.
over in the country.
Were they part of the
Everybody-
Shah's family or something? No.
No, after him.
After him. Okay.
Yeah, but my close family, they had like very good jobs in oil over there.
Mm.
Executives in oil in like the biggest companies there. It's different how it's set up there. Companies are
Because there are
different
people
than
in
here.
or in Southern California that are still related to what was once the Shah of Iran and all of that.
Yeah, they worked for him. They're his like descendants and stuff. It's sad what happened there, with the Shah. It would have been really different nowadays
Yeah.
if he was still there. I think it would have been a lot better. and it's something that it's caused a lot of problems since there. It's
Uprisings
changed.
are never easy to adjust to.
No,
When there's a
it's
massive
like.
overthrow of one regime, and a new order comes in, a new way comes in here.
And that's how it is, like with Hawaii. It's like the people are, they're good and they're just like, living their lives. And then the whole system changes and then everybody gets upset. It's really different. And it can be worse. It's like you don't really know what's going to happen. But people, it's like it can be really, hurtful and upsetting for people. But I don't know. I mean, things always change, I guess. But yeah, the whole Iran is different though, Paul. It's different. But the people are really good though. There's a lot of good Persians, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
it's nice, when people can see like the good people, not just like all the bad things happening. Because there's bad people in every culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's good people in every culture, and it's just I guess that's life. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I went to college in the 70s, a million years ago, at the University of Michigan, and there was a girl in our dorm, and nobody knew exactly what, but she was very pretty, and she was, I don't know, she was some royal part of the Shah's family here at that time. But of course, then it all fell apart, and you wonder what became of her after that. I mean, maybe there's some money that goes along, or maybe not. Many of these royal families lose everything here.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends, like what there's other royalty in Middle East, other kingdoms there,
Sure.
and they have family out here, and I mean, they
Saudis,
have
there's a bunch of
expensive
Saudi.
cars. Yeah,
Yeah,
Jordan and stuff. They have all these. They live the high life for sure,
right.
and all this luxurious
But
life and stuff.
the assumption is that everybody who had some royal connections somehow has lots of money. A lot of these royal families lose the money along the way.
Yeah, it depends on like which country, which area and stuff. And
Somebody's phone's ringing here.
Sorry,
is that mine? Oh
it's
no.
mine.
Somebody's phone's ringing here.
But it just like depends on like which country and stuff. Like even this British family, the royal family, they have an interesting history over there for sure. Like these people, it's like they've had all these different kings and queens and stuff like that, like for the last like 400 years in England. And isn't it like, haven't you heard, you guys? It's like the royal family now is different than the ones that were like they're not like blood related
Oh, well, sure.
to the
Because
ones years ago.
the Stuart, I'm not going to go into British history, but the Stuarts, the first King Charles and one was beheaded, one was overthrown, and then his one or two of their children ruled, and then they finally overthrew them and brought a whole new bloodline in from Hanover, from Germany, and so all the Windsors are really descended from that German family. For like in the early 1900s, they didn't even speak English. They were Germans that were brought over because they were Protestant. They didn't want Catholics ruling the country. The Stuarts were Catholic, and so yeah, I mean there was just that whole
Yeah, it's
bloodline
weird.
was
It's weird.
changed and upended. They brought in a whole new group of people and said, "You're now the kings, and you're the royal family." And
That's crazy. But wouldn't it be nice you just randomly get chosen to be king and queen of some country?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But you know how it is, though, Brand. Being royalty, it's tough. It's tougher than I think it looks. Huh?
Mm-hmm. It is. I think
Mhm.
it's tough for everybody. Like you were talking about Iran and stuff. It's true. I mean, you hear about it all the time. That
I mean, it's a hard question. Any bitterness? I always feel like if you somehow, if you were born 100 years ago, you'd be in a different position because you were part of a royal family. And now you have a royal
addition.
heritage, but you don't have the titles and privileges and money that comes with that anymore. Probably.
Yeah, which is, I don't know. My belief is that you're exactly where you're supposed to be
There you
in
go.
life.
There you go.
God only gives you enough that you can handle, and I think when you think about stuff like that, it clouds the mind because you can't focus on what you need to do to go forward because you're thinking about all the things you missed. But if you cloud your mind with stuff like that, then you can't get to what you really want in life.
Well, we're talking about I'm sorry, I'm a little specialist in British history here, but when the Stuarts line fell and were deposed, and they brought in this new line from England or from Germany, many of the Stuart descendants, Bonnie Prince Charles and others, tried to come back for 2 or 3 generations and start revolutions and reclaim the throne, and none of which
Oh my
ended
gosh.
well. And I don't know, today there must be still descendants of those Stuart kings from the 1800s here. But they've long since lost any titles or positions or land or anything. All that gets lost. The Shah, whatever the Shah's family had
Yeah.
in Iran has been confiscated and taken and redistributed.
Yeah, they had to
everything.
leave. They had to exile. I mean, they're tough over there. They're like, you got to get out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gotta survive.
Got to survive. right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like this Prince Harry too, from England. He wanted to be like regular person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wanted to throw it all
So,
over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's living here in California.
I mean, he's
living
not a
his,
regular person married to a
Well.
movie star, but he got a bunch of money. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's trying to live a somewhat ordinary life, and he gave up. I would be very strange to be locked into that official. I mean, some people think it would be glamorous, but you're in a cage. Your whole life is controlled. Everything you say and do is scrutinized. You're told where to go, what to say, and what to do, and you're a figurehead.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a lot of pressure. You have to always be like, like proper, behaving a certain way,
Yeah, because
and the way you treat people is like how people are going to judge you. Like even the president, politicians, like people get mad at you when you don't you vote on this or that and stuff.
I was
It can
reading
be
somewhere, I'm
difficult.
Catholic, so I'm watching what's happening with the current Pope. We're recording this in end of April here, and obviously they're going to elect a new Pope in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And one comment said, there's obviously people who aspired to do that, and they're trying to figure out who comes next and who wants it. And one of the cardinals said, I don't know why anybody would want it, because the minute you do, your life is over. Your life as you knew it. You have no privacy. You are told what to do and how to dress and where to go, and you're under constant scrutiny. You're no longer your own person. Yes, maybe you feel like you can change the world and you can make an impact, but from that moment on, you're surrendering whatever private life you had.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough, like being the leader of their whole religion, in like every world country that has Catholic people, and then there's been like a lot of like that those issues in the past and stuff with the Catholic Church, these
Sure.
priests and pedo priests and stuff. It's a lot of work, I think.
So a huge responsibility, sure, but I never thought of it that way. You're surrendering your life as you knew. If suddenly the royal family was reinstated in Hawaii and you were brought back, your life would be totally upended, and you would be told where to go and what to say and what to, oh, you can't do that, must have to do this, got to wear this, got to go here, can't marry this person, you got to do this, and suddenly there's a control placed over you.
Yeah, what do you think, Bryn? You could be the queen of Hawaii. Bryn.
No, but
See?
I totally,
We'll
I
start it
totally
today here.
understand. I mean, raised in an Asian family in Hawaiian, we basically that's how we're raised. We're told there's a time and place for us to be present. We're told, what you really should be involved in, what you couldn't be involved in. That's how my family was raising us. So, if we had to step in something like that, I guess we could. We were conditioned to some sort of that because they,
They
during
made you
our,
aware of it.
yeah, I
right.
mean, they choose who they feel that you should be married to. I mean, I know that, me.
You can't just marry any guy down the
Right,
street here or something.
right,
I
right.
met Joe at a bar here. I met Joe at a hot dog stand, and I fell in love.
Right, and there's
They're
those
like,
kind of
Joe?
problems.
No, you
Yeah.
can't marry
Yeah,
Joe.
you can't. Those are kind of problems that everybody was dealing
But I
with.
love Joe. No, I don't care. Joe doesn't fit.
And that's what was interesting about our royal side of the family was that the princess was married to a Chinese cook from China.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that the king had brought over for his daughter. He brought
kidding.
it for food, but he chose him for his
He
daughter.
said, this is who you're going to marry. I got to marry the Chinese cook over here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically it. But yes, so yeah, I think our family raises us to some degree. I mean, we all were told really what they expected us to marry.
I wonder if there are multiple views of lines of the royal family, because what I understand of Hawaiian history, it was relatively late in Hawaii's independent days that they united the islands. Whatever that powerful king whose name I can't say, Kawana or something or whatever, he Kamehameha, well, I don't know, whatever it is, he brought and fought wars and united the islands. They had all different kings, and he united all the islands. And then I don't know if it was him or shortly after, then when he was overthrown by the English merchants or whatever,
Right.
The business people there. That's why the whole thing fell. They didn't have to go island by island. So maybe there's different royal families, but say nowhere that we should be the descendants. Not that guy. He killed all my family and took over our island or something here.
And from my remembrance, because I can't remember all of it because of the injury, but with our family, I mean, my parents and I know my cousins and everything were all raised to be proper. We're in the sense of who we get to marry, they thought was more important to marry.
Right.
And yeah. So, I don't think, I know for me and my family, we talk about it all the time, and me passing down my homestead, it's better to give it to a family that still has the full bloodline, more bloodline than my family.
More connection to it.
Yeah, because it made no sense for me to get it because...
You weren't going to use it.
Yeah, once my sisters and I got old enough, we couldn't pass it to anybody. We couldn't pass it to our children because there's not enough bloodline.
Right.
So, I think about, the land and, the family that still lives in Hawaii, that they should be the ones to carry it because they have more of it.
And is the land kept in its natural state, or is it? You said it was under a church that's burned. But
Right.
Is it under a skyscraper? Is it just
it's still land that
farm?
I know.
Yeah.
It's a house. It's a house and a church still on the land, on that particular land. But everybody that gets homestead, they get to choose if they want to have a home or if they want agriculture. Agriculture comes with acres of land to go ahead and grow food and stuff like that.
Because acres of land in Hawaii would be worth a ton of money.
Yeah.
But yet, if you're preserving it in its native state, in its original state, then it's a poor little farm.
Can you grow stuff on there like pineapples and coconuts, fruits?
Oh yeah. We have cousins that lived there, and they do on their land.
They farm it.
Yeah, they farm it.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
neat.
so they sell to the community that's in the area and stuff like that. So yeah, everybody's different on how they want to live, I guess, basically. You're kind of a king or queen of your own property kind of thing.
So.
Yeah, and how you want it, to be able to be fruitful for you. I mean,
well, we're coming to the end of the show here. Is there any
That's
advice you can give us, Your Royal Highness, here? Any words of wisdom
Yeah.
to pass on to our listeners here today? And can you say anything in Hawaiian?
can't even remember if my life depended on it.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd give us a Hawaiian blessing or something.
I'm so sorry. All I can tell you is that every day you wake up is a blessing. Take
There
it
you
for
go.
what it's worth,
There you
because
go.
you just don't know what life is going to bring you.
So don't forget your past, but don't dwell on it.
Wow.
That's right.
There you
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Brian, for being on the show. That
Thank
was
you for
amazing.
inviting me.
go.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were any Hawaiian royal here in Orange County here.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, Paul.
All right.
That's amazing.
All right, take us out.
All right, everybody. So we have stuff going to go on. We're going to have an event, a sales event that's going to be on either in May or June. So stay tuned for more details. Next month, we're going to have a couple shows, some more guests talking about sales and talking about their stories, and like today. So make sure you stay tuned. Updates for Bryn's new podcast she's going to start. It's going to be about health and wellness, and you can hear about it on her social medias, and you can also check back with us if you want the links and stuff. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. One more reason to tune in each and every time for the real world. We say the real world of sales, but it's really like the real world of Orange County here. We meet the most amazing people doing the most incredible things right here in our own backyard. Streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale applied innovation.